And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Today's satellite imagery showing moisture continuing to flow early this morning here, coming up from the south and over high pressure over western Canada into the Panhandle and the Eastern Gulf here. And rolling this along, you can see not much eastward movement here, mostly south to north still, carrying clouds and areas of rain and showers right in across much of southern Alaska, drying out here over the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta area with some high pressure right through here, and not so much in the way of mid and higher level clouds here to the north, but some clouds up along the Arctic coast. Next system pushing eastward here across the Bering Sea and the Aleutians with the frontal zone and rain into the into the eastern Aleutians up toward the Pribilofs and pushing in toward the Alaska Peninsula. Flying weather for Tuesday morning, IFR from Nikolsky westward to the Komodorskis and marginal for the Fox Islands, Pribilofs all the way up to the Bering Strait there, marginal VFR. VFR, Arctic coast, North Slope, all the way down the west side here into Bristol Bay and the Alaska Peninsula, and then back to marginal VFR along the western Alaska Range, VFR, Susitna Valley down into northern Cook Inlet, and then marginal VFR there for the Copper River Basin with the IFR here, North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, down along the coast of the Kenai Peninsula, and then in close to Kodiak Island, and marginal VFR for Yakutat. Some marginal VFR again with low clouds here over portions of the southeast coast, but staying pretty nice, that mostly along the coast. For the afternoon, though, that spreads in to the entire southeast coast from marginal VFR, IFR, North Gulf Coast, into the Barren Islands, and improving those southern Kodiak Islands, some VFR there. VFR here over the western interior from the Arctic coast into Nunivak Island down to Bristol Bay, the Alaska Peninsula area with a band of marginal VFR through the central part of the state, becoming IFR for the eastern Arctic coast, and then back to VFR here for the eastern interior. IFR, the Aleutians, marginal for the Bering Sea. Wednesday morning, IFR comes northward a little bit here into the southern Bering Sea, covering all the Aleutian, covering the entire Aleutian chain west of Nikolsky, and some VFR here over the southeast Bering, Alaska Peninsula, Yukon Delta up to the Arctic coast, VFR, marginal VFR through the Bering Strait and the northern Bering Sea there, and then into Kuskokwim Bay, Togiak Bay, Kuskokwim Valley, this zone of marginal VFR right up to the northeast there, and again, IFR for the eastern Arctic coast, and IFR here holding over the northern Gulf Coast. And for the afternoon, this area of IFR kind of breaks up here. You tell lower conditions now into the southeast coastal areas with some IFR and all marginal VFR. Areas of marginal VFR over interior Alaska and some IFR close to the central and eastern Arctic coast up there. VFR for the Chukchi Sea through the Bering Strait, and areas of VFR breaking out over the Bering Sea for passes, Anatuvik, marginal VFR for the day Tuesday. Same forecast for Adigan, occasional marginal VFR for that pass as well. Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal VFR. And for rainy, marginal VFR, lowest conditions, eastern entrance. Windy, look for some marginal VFR as well at times. Isabel, though, go VFR, VFR from Antasta, and VFR for Tanita. Portage, marginal VFR, except the eastern entrance there. We'll see IFR through most of the day. Chilkoot and White, marginal VFR. Freezing levels still 10 to 12,000 feet here over the southeast interior, on down across the Panhandle. 2,000 feet up over the North Slope there with kind of a cool area extending down into the eastern Bering Sea, 4,000 feet, well south of the Pribilofs, then 6,000 to 8,000 feet along the Aleutians. Icing, quite an area here of isolated moderate rime, possibly mixed icing, especially over the eastern interior, more of a mixed nature there. Kodiak Island up to the North Gulf Coast, all the way up to the eastern Arctic coast. Small area of considerable moderate possible there over the just east of the Kuskokwim Mountains over toward the Yukon River. Icing free out to the west. And for the jet stream, got this upper high starting to retreat off to the east there, seeing some low pressure area is now approaching the southeast coast. 70 knot southwest winds or south-southwesterlies across the Brooks Range, north slope to the Arctic coast, and a pretty strong westerly jet here along and just south of the Aleutians, 9,000 feet. This wind max is even farther to the south at this elevation, but pretty good winds here, blowing from the southeast to southwest at 55 knots across the central interior. Light for the Panhandle, 3,000 foot wind flow here, a narrow band of 30 to 40 knot winds along the North Gulf Coast, and light over the interior, and 35 knot winds with this system, but that's staying to the south of Kodiak Island. Otherwise, moving on to turbulence. Areas of light to isolated moderate turbulence possible for the Fox Islands tomorrow, and out over the western Aleutians, Hume and Attu, as well as the North Gulf Coast with those stronger winds there. And the eastern Arctic coast as well could see some isolated moderate turbulence, surface 5,000 feet.